Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 12-Inch Fanatic. Today we're going to take a look at Sideshow's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. This was a collaboration supposedly with Clint Eastwood himself. Now I did a video not too long ago of the Dirty Harry version of Clint Eastwood, and there were a lot of negative comments about the skin tone on the head sculpt, that it was a little too tanned for most people's taste. Let's crack this open. We're going to see what we got, and hopefully it's going to be a little bit better than the last one. Additionally, I have another custom of this figure that I'm going to do a side-by-side with, and we'll see which one turns out on top. All right, some kind of residue on the bag here. So the box looks kind of like the movie poster. It's a little vintage looking. The Man with No Name. For three men, the Civil War wasn't hell, it was practice. Clint Eastwood's signature on the side of the box there. Like the last figure, they've got this wrap around the entire thing. If I remember correctly, this is one of the, there's been a few versions of this from small batch producers over the years, and this is one of the first majorly detailed figures that I saw floating around online. This version here hopefully will, even though it's mass produced, meet the same standard. Let's take a look at the figure itself. Okay, so the head sculpt itself looks pretty good. Something might be a little bit off about the eyes. Maybe a little too recessed. I got dirty hands from painting. Yeah, it's almost like they're too recessed, or maybe there's a little too much red around the edges of the eyes. The profile looks perfect. I think it's interesting they have this permanent cigarette in his mouth. It's not removable. But yeah, the sculpt of the body itself looks pretty decent. Not too heavy, not too thin, and you'll see there the calipers. I think that's what they're called. It doesn't rotate. It's not made of metal, and it looks like the strap on it is separate from the sculpt of the shoe. Now, the shoe sculpt itself looks decent enough. It would have been nice if it was actually leather. So it looks like what they did is they did a plastic here, and then it separates. The separation is hidden by this strap here, but it turns into sort of a leather type material here. So the whole thing is not plastic. It's not weathered on the bottom either. That would have been nice. But it looks like they weathered the knees a little bit. You can't really tell in the video, but they do look a little bit weathered. Then we have see, this could have been weathered as well. It just looks a little too sharp, a little too fresh. But the stitching on it is nice enough. That is actual stitching. Hands, decent enough. There's some light paint on there. And I'm impressed by how thin this is. My version, it's a pretty thick material, and as a result, it doesn't look as accurate. And the hat is not removable as well, so there's no option to remove the hat. And it is made of plastic, and it doesn't seem like it has too much ply to it, so I imagine if you dropped the figure, that could crack or chip off. And then you've got this handkerchief underneath. All right, so let's see what else we got. Got a shotgun here, or rifle, should I say. And it's got one moving piece on there. Oh, this moves as well. And that's pretty much it. It's weathered enough to where it looks like, you know, kind of real wood. It doesn't have, maybe it could use a gloss finish to it, a light gloss. I don't know if it should be matte finished, but yeah, pretty decent. And we have his revolver, and that rotates. This also goes back, and it's nice decorative on there. Painted on both sides. There's good detailing actually on this. It's not too weathered. I think that's the theme so far, is you'd expect some dents and dings on a lot of this stuff, and it doesn't look like that's the case here. And a rock. And I haven't seen the movie in a long time, so I don't know what the significance of that is. But it looks realistic enough. Made out of plastic. Got some extra hands. Trigger hands. Holding hands. Got a lot of hands, it looks like. All right, so there were some additional hands underneath. Very good detailing on them. They definitely did better than average. And of course, his poncho, his famous poncho. And it's an interesting material. It doesn't have the texture that a real poncho would have. It's more like a velvet type of texture, a very, very fine suede almost. But they got the fringe at the bottom here. They probably could have added more fringe. It's a little spaced out there, a little sparse. But decent enough. And then we've got the stand. And the stand, you know, I'm a fan of the, well, this has the signature on the bottom, but nothing going on, pretty boring on top. You'll see from the side-by-side with my other one, I have a custom stand that I made. And this one's just pretty plain and standard. Doesn't even have a nameplate on the front. Some of you might not mind that, but that kind of irks me when they do that. Anyways, let me put this figure together, do the side-by-side, and give you my final thoughts. All right, so here's the two figures side by side. The one on the left here is my custom, and the one on the right is the new Sideshow version. The Sideshow version has quite a few advantages over my custom. For one, the cut of the jeans is far superior on the Sideshow one. It's a little slimmer. This one's a little bit loose. It's not weathered. It's kind of stiff. The material's a little thicker. The boots, now these boots are material and kind of a suede simulated leather, and the stirrups are a little bit thicker, more unrealistic. So as far as the appearance goes, these definitely have the edge. Much more detail, much more refined. These are a little cartoonish, if you will. Next, let's look at the belt. On my custom, the color is probably a little bit lighter than I would prefer, but once again, it's not weathered. This one here, it's dark, and I like that, and it's also got some bullets on the other side, and these do too, but they're a little bit sparsed out, a little cheap looking. Now, this one, it has the vest that's a little bit thicker, and like I said, it makes it look a little bit more unrealistic. This one's a little bit finer, and I appreciated that. The shirt's not too different. Both of them have this pinstripe look. The biggest difference, I think, is in the ponchos. So as you can see, this one, like I said, is kind of suede-ish, very fine suede, and the pattern is not as pronounced. It's like a yellow print pattern. This one is a lot of contrast. This one's a little bit thicker, but still kind of suede-ish, but it doesn't have a shine like this one does. I don't like that there's a shine to it. This one is very matte finish, and the paint is a little too thick on this one. The pattern's a little too pronounced. Maybe not enough there, maybe too much there. Now, another huge difference is the head sculpts. So, as you can see, I mean, he's still got his squinting eyes. You could still put a cigar in there if you want, but it's undeniably him. This one, I don't know. The eyes just seem a little, it almost looks like a, I don't know, a video game version of him. It doesn't, it's missing something. Like I said, maybe a little too pinkish or reddish around the eyes. Once again, let's look at this one. All right, and back to this one. So definitely a difference. I would say that my head sculpt has the slight edge. But once again, no, this one does come off, but obviously there's nothing underneath. But yeah, I prefer the head sculpt on this one. Now, as far as which figure I'm keeping, I don't know. I might just kit bash both of them. I mean, I'd probably just switch out the head sculpts and keep everything else with the Sideshow one, and sell the other one as an auction on eBay. Because, yeah, I don't know. The head sculpt really bothers me the more I look at it. Yeah. But scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this one a 7.8. The biggest points are for the head sculpt and the shine of the poncho. I appreciate all the hands. I appreciate the accessories, even this mysterious piece of rock. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about this one. See you next time, folks.